we hear me? Can we see me? What's going on? Welcome to NATALKA Design. I'm Natalia. Let's just do this. So today I want to talk about something that we've observed happening a lot. Of course, we all know the world of podcasts. Who doesn't listen to podcasts? There's so many these days, so many amazing podcasts that it's almost sometimes overwhelming because there's never enough time to even read, but now podcasts are like the thing for many years. They just seem to pop out every freaking day. I love them. I have my favorites. I should actually make a video about my favorite podcasts. Who knows? Let me know if you would like to know that. There's so many out there. I can definitely pop a few of them. But I wanted to talk today about something specific connected to our world, visual communication, because we see more and more of that popping around and we do more of work like that. I want to talk about how to make podcasts visual. So get your seats buckled up and all that, because this could be quite interesting for you if you're in the world of podcasts, if you're producing them, if you're part of them, even if you're a guest of one. That's something you could suggest to the people that make podcasts. Podcasts are an audio, of course, content, right? By nature, they're audio. Some of us love that. Some of us are struggling with that. I personally, in terms of, for example, Audible, I have a kind of a love and hate relationship with Audible. I love that I can read more. Well, as in read because I listen. I still find that, reading is like this. I need to see the text. But hey, it allows me to read more books, and whenever I do things, I try to put Audible on. But yet, the information is always very hard for me to kind of retain for a long time, especially if I'm reading something huge like Sapiens or something. And same with podcasts. I have this thing where I listen to my favorite podcasts. I have a little note where I add my favorite quotes. So sometimes if I run or anything like that, I'll just be like, oh, this was a great comment. Let me write it down because I'll forget it. So I have this whole line of notes from my favorite podcasts of quotes and moments that I really, really enjoy that I want my brain to really keep. So when it comes to audio, it's a very tricky one. Some of us really are good at listening and retaining that information, recalling. Many of us, most of us, 80% of us actually, are best at remembering, retaining, and recalling information through visuals. So when you think about it, why podcasts are so audio-based? They can have a beautiful addition to remembering and making it more engaging through visuals. So I would like to show you kind of few little ways that you could introduce visual communication to podcasts, whether you produce them, whether you're part of them, whether you're thinking to start one, or whether you're a guest. First one, you could basically just visualize the guests that are on your podcast. If you're interviewing someone, visualize, draw, illustrate, doodle that guest. Why not? What an interesting different way than just putting the name or just putting a fancy little graphic design that everyone uses. Draw them. This is something very interesting. If you don't have guests on your podcast and you just talk about different topics, draw that topic. So it's always something possible to do. I'm sure you're discussing different things on your podcast or listening to or producing. So a great example of someone who's doing that is one of my actually favorite podcasts, which is called Song Exploder. And they're doing it amazingly. If you go to their Instagram, and I'm just going to show a screenshot, and it's so engaging. It's so wonderful to see. There's a new episode with, Lianne Havas, and there's her beautiful, stunning illustration made for that podcast. How original, how bespoke, how different. A podcast that I really, really enjoy with Dan-Marie Serter, who is a host of Secret Leaders podcast. Really cool business conversations with CEOs and founders. Inspirational, challenging, love it. I really enjoyed the episode with Monzo CEO, and I thought that I'm just going to go for that quote and just visualize it. And yeah, it was a really fun exercise to do. I remember this quote so much better now. It stands out in my mind literally as this little green visual with the head, and whenever I want to come back to it, it's much easier. And you can share it again on your Instagram, on your LinkedIn, in your social. Why not? It's just another way to showcase your content from your podcast and kind of give it more life and longevity, so that even if you want to promote it after a week or 2 weeks or a month, you can still kind of blurt out some content around it rather than just sound. Then you can go into more than one quote, very kind of simple progression. So maybe you want to create a visual of few of the kind of nice key moments and quotes from that podcast. So I did that, for example, with podcast called Moments That Made Me. The host is lovely Roxy. She's amazing. Check her out. I'll put her name down below. And she interviewed one of really, really genuine and amazing influencers that I follow. Great woman on the internet, Estelle Lalonde. And she was speaking about her 3 defining moments in life. And so it was a quite long podcast, an hour. So of course I'm not going to draw everything. I wanted to pick actually those 3 defining moments, and that's where I focused. So I drew 1, 2, 3. I put her name, I put the name of the podcast, and what an amazing another way to share more of your content. You could break it down into 3 separate pieces of content. You could make it in 1, but just to show you that there's a bit of a progression from 1 comment to 3, because all that she really talked as a summary was her 3 defining moments in life. And I've got a beautiful visual, fun content to share with my audience again. And then you can go really crazy. If you want to really create something rich and fun to look at and entertaining and so much going on, you could literally create a very rich picture of a lot of key moments and key quotes from a podcast. And for example, that's what we did with Heights podcast, run again by Dan-Marie Serter, who is a Secret Leaders host as well. And we really enjoyed listening to these podcasts. I got into it, I don't even know, when was it, last year or something, and there was a episode with Stephen Fry. I love Stephen Fry, who doesn't love him? I got so inspired, I literally live scribed in real time what they were talking about. Yes, I created a lot of rich stories out of it. I drew Steven in different moments as a little character, cartoon, jumping, walking, thinking, and just describing what the world that he's discussing. Very rich. Yes, it's of course a choice if you want to make that. But again, it did so well on social. We shared it with Heights, and funnily enough, we became their creative partner for the entire series. And then we were progressing and drawing all the live scribing all the other episodes and drawing the speakers. The speakers loved it, they reshared it, and it was just a beautiful visual summary that they would put into their newsletter every time the episode would come out, and their audience would just enjoy this wonderful visual representation of what this episode is about, which also made them want to click more, listen more, and share more. So just another way to show you the progression, you could do more. And the last one, we played with creating a time-lapse animation of a live scribed, let's say, key moments of a podcast. So again, it's about, you know, beautiful storytelling from high successful people who went through challenges and everything, and it's just very, very inspirational and real type of podcast. I highly recommend it. So we took an episode with Johnny Wilkinson, who's like super known sports persona in UK, and we drew his story with all the colors, you know, that the podcast has, just to give it more brand feel and everything. And when we live scribed it, we created time-lapse animation out of it. So you can see the whole visual is moving and it gets this extra life injected into it, and something's happening for the eyes. And let's be honest, video is humongous on social, on YouTube. People love to stare at something that moves. It's engaging, it's different. It's so inspirational and exciting to follow what's going to happen next. It's just a natural thing that we're drawn to. They shared it on their social. It was a great kind of interaction between everyone, and what a great, again, content, very different for them to share from, I think, their best listened to episode. So this is another kind of example to show you that these visuals could move. They don't have to be static. You can create GIFs, you can create animation, you can create all sorts of effects if you wish to. So I hope this was inspirational. From our world to yours, you can see that there's more and more podcasts being created, but there's more and more room to make them more different and interesting. And you don't have to only close yourself into the world of pretty fonts, graphic design, clean lines, and a photograph. You can totally totally be creative and different and have fun with it. Maybe create a character for your podcast. Maybe every episode will have a beautiful drawing of the guest, or maybe you just go into the whole realm of how about I just draw what they're talking about. And there's something for you to explore. Why not? Have fun with it, see what sticks, try a few things. And I would love to hear from you if you produce podcasts or if you're part of production, if you're thinking to start one, if you have one, please send them our way. I would love to listen to new stuff and learn a bit more. And if that at all inspired you, are there any other kind of tips and suggestions you might have, or you've seen somewhere podcasts being really beautifully visualized, please send my way. But for now, I hope that this was helpful. My name is Natalia, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.